Oh, what's going on, guys?
Welcome to Alpha Charlie
Get
Concepts,
this
folks. Wanted to give you a
stop computer.
welcome to Alpha Charlie Concepts, folks.
You'd think I'd have all this ready before we got started. Problem is, I thought I had it ready before we got started, but then it wasn't ready. Good. Camera keeps moving. Alright. Let me get this set up, guys. And here's my brother from another mother. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah, I know, that's kind of a spiffy t-shirt right there. Me do a couple of things. Bear with me just a second. Trying to do two things at once here. Alright. Here, let me see if this will see if that helps with the volume situation any. Boy, that's a crappy connection right now. Dang. Alright, we'll give it a minute or two for everybody to get in here. And we'll chat about a couple of things. Give you guys another minute. Whatever reason, YouTube likes to be extraordinarily slow in sending out notifications to some people. Yeah, Oregon. You guys got a heck of a marshmallow roast going on out there. Alright, so I'll go ahead and get started rambling, and as folks come in, they come in. Hopefully we won't repeat too much stuff. There's a lot of guys asking, and gals, asking my thoughts on what all's going on and state of affairs and where we're going and all that kind of good stuff. Now, I don't know why you want to know what I think, because I'm certainly not a scholar on the subject by any stretch. So I make no claims to having any good knowledge. But some of you asked, far be it for me to deny you the opportunity to tell you what I think. So it's a complicated question to answer. Right now, as any of you watching this know, there is a lot going on. And it's not so much that there's a lot going on, it's also all the different angles and variables that are factoring into what's going on, right? Like, we don't have just one group trying to wreak havoc right now. We've got multiple. You've got, of course, Antifa. You've got RevCom. You've got BLM. And you've got different factions just under those. I mean, you've got the NFAC. You've got all these other groups. So, and each one's coming at things from a different angle. So trying to figure out where things are going is hard to put a finger on, right? Because they're all heading different directions. Well, they're all heading the same direction. Like, say they're all heading north, but some are heading north by northwest, north by northeast, and then different degrees to each direction. So, that's all the kind of thing that makes this stuff complicated to really definitively say, here's where we're going, here's what's going to happen. Unfortunately for us, that makes it difficult to try to figure out exactly how to plan and prepare. The key thing, I think, is just to kind of look at it in a broader picture. We know we're heading for trouble. We know these groups pretty much all want the same thing. What's going to happen? I don't know. I wish I did, but I'll tell you guys this. I do not have good, warm and fuzzy feelings about what's happening. I think there are multiple things setting up here. You've got the continued violence that each one of these groups is bringing about. You've got the continued stupidity of the government, especially when it comes to, like, the COVID nonsense. Something a lot of people aren't paying attention to is the economic aspect of things. And that is something that I don't think we're going to see the true ramifications and full effects of till probably around February or March of next year. But hello, Miss Crystal. But I think there's a lot in that regards that people aren't seeing and might not be thinking about. So factor in all this potential violence and nonsense, but factor in the potential economic stuff that could be coming. Remember, the economic stuff is going to be delayed. That's why I say February or March-ish probably. I'll try to come back to my points that I was fixing to make there, but let me expand on that economic point just a second. So think about guns and ammo right now, right? Guns and ammo are being sold at a record rate. Like, manufacturers cannot make stuff fast enough. And things are selling at much higher prices now than they were, 8, 9, 10 months ago. But they're still selling. A lot of people are either out of work from the COVID nonsense or are at reduced salaries from the COVID nonsense. So, and I'm just using this as a micro example, right? So how are all these people that are spending all this money buying all these guns and ammo, not counting everything else they're buying, just the guns and ammo? Well, I don't know about the audio, guys. I got the mic right here. I can't make it any better. Y'all let me know if it's completely horrible. keep this stupid computer out of the way. But anyway, okay. Noel says the audio is good. How are people affording all the guns and ammo, right? Especially with reduced and or lack of incomes. The catch is credit. And I'm hypothesizing here. But if people are using tons of credit right now, all kind of stuff, what happens if they don't get their normal pay back, their normal jobs back, etc.? How are they going to pay off all these credit cards or loans or whatever they're using to buy all this stuff with? What happens if come Christmas, people aren't back to normal work-wise? Many businesses rely on Christmas sales to carry them through the bulk part of the year. What if Christmas sales are just completely crashed because people ain't got the money, or people continue to use more credit? Well, give that a couple of months into the year, and you stay put now. That can start catching up. So you see where I'm going with just that little micro example of the economic side of things. That could be catching up with us really bad. So now getting back to the other stuff. Obviously, you all know everything that's going on right now with the fires out west, and I know a bunch of you are discussing that in the comments. And I've seen equal amounts of stuff to suggest that some of it is accidental, but some of it's also intentional. You've got all these factions doing what they're doing. That's going to continue to rile people up. It's going to make people get drawn into situations that they otherwise wouldn't be drawn into. People are going to start giving a flip that normally don't give a flip. Now you get to the election, right? Now, I think leading up to the election, again, hypothesis on my part, I think leading up to the election, we're going to see things ramp up in a number of different ways, a number of different areas, right? The election itself, this is probably the first election that I've ever been this concerned, because potentially I see a no-win situation here, right? If Trump wins by a narrow margin, rest assured, Biden's going to contest it and contest it and contest it and contest it. I do not think he's going to oh, my brain's having a mental crash. Concede. I don't think Biden will concede the election. If Trump were to win in a landslide, Antifa, Revcom, etc., liberal Democrats, they're going to scream bloody murder that the election was stolen. So either one of those two scenarios, Trump winning, they're going to go bonkers. I really envision them absolutely losing their collective ever-loving minds. If Biden were to win, and do not think that is not possible, both legitimately or illegitimately, if he were to win, I think we stand a very strong chance of the Revcom, Antifa, BLM type idiots seeing that as a mandate and continuing with what they're doing and even ramping it up. So any of those three scenarios, things do nothing but get worse. There's no better, right? Now, I also think there is a very strong chance that we're going to lose the Senate. And talking with one of my friends who works in the political arena, he has mentioned a couple of things to me in confidence with different campaigns that he is watching or otherwise connected to. And the chances are very strong we could lose the Senate. If we lose the Senate, and I don't see us taking back the House right now, and Biden were to win, Katie bar the door. So keep all those things in mind. I don't see the next 4 months getting any better. In fact, probably getting continually worse. So what does that mean we do? Well, continue doing everything you should have already been doing. It's cliche, but it's true. The simple B's, the beans, bullets, and Band-Aids. However, right now, getting the bullets is really hard. Unfortunately, if you ain't already got the bullets, chances are you're going to have a hard time getting them right now. Either because of A, availability or lack thereof, or B, cost. I know for me personally and my inner circle, we've had to stop all of our live fire training. We've got ammo, okay? The problem is we've used up all the practice ammo, and all that's left is the rainy day ammo, and I refuse to dip into the rainy day ammo because A, I can't afford to replace it right now, and B, I don't know if I'll be able to actually physically replace it in the future. So ammo's kind of become the priority. It's not being used. You can still train, you can still practice. Do a lot of dry fire. If you've got your friends and family, do dry team drills. You don't have to go bang to run it. You can run everything dry, but do it. Work together. Do your drills. Just do them dry. The beans and the Band-Aids. You should be steadily stocking up on those anyway. Stand by just a second. I gotta answer this message because it was pertinent to the conversation. One second. Okay. Keep getting food. And right now, food. It doesn't matter. Food. Edible food that you can eat. Short term, long term, mid term, whatever. Get stuff you can grow. Get stuff that stores a long time. Get stuff that short term. I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff unrelated to all the current events going on of just potential food issues coming this winter due to delayed ramifications from the COVID shutdown, due to things like that big storm that rolled through the Midwest and wiped out millions of acres of crops here a month or so ago, etc. It's a lot of smarter people than me are saying we got food problems coming, and that's not counting rather the election and all the other stuff related around that, the riots, etc. So there's a lot of reason to have food right now, have a means to make more food. The Band-Aid side, I did a video earlier. I'll try to get it uploaded tonight and tomorrow. Stock up on medical supplies, guys. And yes, you need to have, your typical pressure bandage, tourniquet, chest seal, etc. But far more than that, we're probably going to need non-traumatic medical supplies, right? Make sure you stock up on lots of rolls of gauze pads, tape, band-aids, antibiotic ointment, butterflies, things like that. Far more likely, if things went completely turnipside, to be getting cuts and scrapes and gouges and gashes and bites and things like that. So have lots of just regular, everyday, simple medical supplies. It doesn't have to all be traumatic supplies like a pressure bandage and tourniquet. Again, you need those, but stock up on regular medical supplies. A bad cut because Antifa's rolling through your neighborhood trying to burn it down, and you and the neighbors trying to defend it, and you dive down behind cover in a ditch, and there's a rock or a stick you didn't see when you put your hand down to get down, and you get a big cut on your finger. It can be very distracting at least, get infected and cause problems at worst, and depending on how bad things are, you might not be able to get to the doctor or hospital. You get a good infection and goes septic, you're in trouble. And it can happen within just a couple of days. Zombie, how you doing? Like Noel just said in the chat, gauze is cheap. I mean, get boxes of flexible bandages. They're cheap. Triangle bandages. They're cheap and have a dozen uses. Individual packets of iodine prep pads, alcohol pads, hydrocortisone cream, antibiotic cream, rolls of gauze, the little 4x4 gauze pads, 3x5 gauze pads, cling wrap, Coflex, tape. Stock up on that stuff, okay? You might be stopping a lot of venous bleeding and not a lot of arterial bleeding. Just saying. Now, you do need to be able to stop the arterial bleeding. Again, I'm not saying don't. I'm just saying have stuff to take care of all the other things, because it's far more likely to get the bad cuts and scrapes than it is necessarily a gunshot wound. Just saying. So the point being with what's going on, it's up in the air. And I know a lot of you asked me individually. I don't know where things are going, what's going to happen, because there's a dozen different ways it could go. I mean, it really is. The election has got me really concerned, and talking with my friends and family, we're all pretty concerned. Can't get out and shoot right now, get with your family and friends. Go over medical stuff. I mean, heck, there's plenty of things right here on YouTube where you can watch medical videos. Go take a first aid course. Again, it doesn't have to be an ALS course. Make sure your kids know how to, bandage a cut. Things like that. Work with your family and friends, come up with a communications plan. Run dry drills. I mean, there's all kind of stuff you can be doing that will apply across the board regardless of what the situation is, regardless of what happens, regardless of how bad things get. Now, that all said, I do believe that we are already in the early stages, and this is probably what a lot of you have been looking for. I believe we're in the early stages of an actual civil war, okay? The question is how far into it does it get? I don't know. It could stay like this for months, or one domino get pushed over at the right time and all of a sudden it's Katie bar the door and there's bullets flying everywhere. I mean, it could teeter just like that in a heartbeat. There is in my opinion, there is a communist takeover being attempted. I fully believe that at varying levels and varying degrees, but when you boil it all down, there is a full-blown attempt at a communist takeover. Now, I saw one comment fly by earlier. What do we do and when do we do it? I can't tell you. I can't tell you. That's something you're going to have to decide for yourself. And it's going to be a hard decision to make. Obviously, you would always defend yourself if you're in immediate danger, or your family, your friends. But beyond that, I don't know. Sorry, I'm trying to. Don't look for National Guard to be rolled out. Don't look for anything like that, because I have zero faith that the federal government is going to do anything to try to stem it, stop it, or whatever. Yes, Derek is exactly right. They have unleashed a Pandora's box with these riots, and the switch isn't going to get flipped off if they win. Okay, that's not how that's going to work. They've opened up something that they can't control. Trying to read some of the comments real quick, guys. So the potential, and I stress potential, is there for things to get really bad. And unfortunately, this whole thing is like, it's like being in Florida and watching a Category 5 hurricane in the Caribbean barreling this way, right? You know it's a bad storm because you're watching it. You're seeing the information on the storm itself. You know it's barreling this way. You know it's got warm water to go over to feed it. You know what Category 5 storms are capable of. You're trying to get ready for it. But then there's always the variables that out of nowhere it hits a dry patch and suddenly fizzles. Wind shear rips the top of it off out of the blue. It makes an unexpected jog or turn and all of a sudden misses you completely and goes away. That's what these things that we're watching and seeing right now is like. You got to be ready for that Category 5 storm to hit, because if it hits, it's going to hit like a freight train, and it's going to be fast and hard. But you can't say for certainty that it is, because there are so many variables that can affect where, when, how strong, etc. You just don't know. So, there's your happy, cheery thought for the day. I recommend more coffee. As I said the other day, people will disappoint you, coffee and dogs won't. Just my little eloquism for the day. All right, let me start looking at some of these comments. I know I saw a few of you pop in here. Let me scroll back. Hang on. I hope the video connection's better than for y'all than it is for me, because on my end it looks like it sucks. It could just be my computer. Yeah, hopefully it looks better for y'all. Let's see. Yes, it does depend on where you are in the country. It's going to affect different areas differently, just due to the not only political makeup of varying areas of the country, but just the general mindset of people, right? If you're in the rural South, things will be a lot different than they are in Chicago, Portland, whatever. Let's see. Thoughts on night vision? Night vision is great as long as the other guy doesn't have it. If the other guy doesn't have it, then it's annoying. I mean, if the other guy does have it, then it's just an annoying thing to carry around. I mean, night vision can be a great force multiplier, but in order to fully get its benefits, you have to have an IR illuminator and an IR laser on your weapon, etc. And then if the other guy's got it, as soon as you flip on that IR laser or IR illuminator, then he's seeing you just like you're seeing him, and it's pointing right back at you. So night vision really only works good if you're the only one with it. It's an expensive expenditure, and unless you're really well set in every other area, night vision is not something I put a high priority on. Of course, it's nice to have. I mean, that's no doubt. But you'd be far better served by having plenty of medical supplies, plenty of food, ammo, clothes, etc. All that stuff first. Thermal can be useful, depending on the situation. The problem with a lot of thermal is the distance that it's usable at. It varies in how far away it'll actually pick up things. Sometimes some of them have a fairly shorter range, so you got to have things right up on top of you. I don't have any way of turning up the volume. I wish I could. All I can do is yell a little louder. Yeah, I mean, if you've got thermal that reaches out good to 300 yards, then you're good. I gotta turn the AC back on for a minute, guys. It's getting warm in here. Yes, I didn't mention that. Thermal glass has a very negative effect on thermal, so you have to keep that in mind. Try to move some of these real quick. Yeah, it, yeah, communications is big. It's big as long as you got somebody to communicate with, right? Um, Additionally, at least having a radio, you can scan frequencies and listen in for information, and at least listen to other people talk, so you can try to pick up information you might not be getting elsewhere. That's always a good thing to have. Looters and thieves are obviously going to be an issue, but again, it depends on the situation. Um, if you've got Antifa, Revcon, BLM, whoever rolling through your neighborhood chunking Molotovs at everybody's houses, they ain't worried about looting much. They're just trying to burn everything down and kill whoever they can kill. So it's going to depend on the threat and the situation as to what the more individual threat and focus is going to be. Let's see. My comments froze up. Hang on a second, guys. I'm waiting for my computer to catch up. So, unfortunately, race could very well be a factor. It shouldn't be. Okay? It absolutely shouldn't be, but unfortunately, it very well could be. And as I've discussed with a couple of friends, all these people that like to virtue signal, remember this: some of these serious hate groups, NFAC, some of the BLM groups, etc., Black Panthers, whoever, when they come to your door to burn your house down or shoot you and your family, they're not going to stop and check your Facebook status to see how much you virtue signaled beforehand. All they're going to look at is, oh, there's a white person, take them out. Or it could very well not be race, it could be political. Oh, that person looks like a Trump supporter, take them out. That's already happened. So again, it shouldn't be a factor, but unfortunately it probably will be. And the flip side of that too is you're going to have people who otherwise don't care about race that are suddenly going to, it's going to push people into corners, and it's going to be ones that aren't normally capable of objective thinking anyway, and then that's going to even further the division. It's starting a self-eating cycle, and it's absolutely stupid. And I don't know what happened, but my computer just went completely bonkers. Yeah, signal just went wonky on my screen too. Oh yes, ideology can get very flexible, very flexible. Back to basics. So yeah, if I hate to say it, if people aren't already on board with the idea of being prepared, they're probably not going to at this point. It's almost too late. I mean, really. If somebody woke up today and said, "Oh my gosh, I need to get on board with this," the chances of being able to effectively do it under this climate are pretty thin. Pretty thin. You needed to have already been doing it. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying you still shouldn't encourage folks and try to bring them in, but just understand it's going to be very difficult. It's an uphill fight right now for people that are just now getting the epiphany of, oh my God, all these people that have been trying to tell us to be prepared all this time, we're a bunch of crazy paranoid wackos. We really should have been. I hate to be the one I told you so, but I told you so. That's what I wanted to touch on. So, the EMP threat. There's something going on because DHS keeps putting out an awful lot of chatter about EMP stuff, right? As well as some other agencies. And EMP would be really, really bad. With as wound up as everybody is right now, as high as tensions are, not only tensions are already high from all the COVID nonsense, right? Now you add in all the riots and racial tension and all this other stuff, plus the election tension. And EMP right now, with the way everybody's tensions is, the whole country would turn into a madhouse really fast. Now, I'm thinking, to be honest, about something a little different along those lines. I want to throw out a hypothetical scenario for you. Again, this is a what if hypothetical scenario. We already know for a fact that multiple different countries, China and North Korea for sure, probably Russia for sure, probably Iran, safe to say, but those other ones for sure, have already hacked into our electrical grid. We know that, they've admitted it. What if, come election day, one of those particular entities decides to flip the switch on the power on a big chunk of the country? That could have the exact same effect as an EMP, but without physically damaging a lot of infrastructure. So infrastructure and stuff would still be in place, there just wouldn't be any power to power things. Think about that from both a crap hit the fan standpoint, oh my God, the power's out everywhere, and how people will panic and react to that. Then factor in, if it's happening on election day, the conspiracies that would go wild about that. And then keep in mind that most, if not all, of our voting capability is done electronically in some fashion or another. So if voting machines don't have power, ballots can't be cast and counted. You see where that could go? And flipping the switch on the power grid will be far easier than setting off an EMP. So keep that twirling in the back of your head as just a worst case scenario, right? Doesn't necessarily have to always be the more far-fetched ideas. Sometimes the more common ideas can have the exact same effects, in the long flip back down here. Hopefully the screen looks good for y'all. Mine still looks somewhat good, but I think my signals, it's blurry on my end. There's Ozark, how you doing? All right. What else? Yes, Agenda 21's been around for a long time. There's a lot of little aspects of it that make one raise one's eyebrows. Exactly, no. A grid down situation would be casualty wise about the same as an EMP. It really would. Maybe not quite as bad up front because things like generators would still work. So like hospitals would still be able to run on generator power for a couple of days. People could still run their cars as long as they could get gas for a couple of days. Generators would still run for a couple of days, etc. So there's all kind of ways to affect power grid without it having to be an actual EMP to take it out. All right, guys, we won't drag on too much longer. We'll give it a little bit. Let's see, 40, we'll give it another 10 or 12 minutes. Ricochet, yeah. On some levels, there's something to be said for that. I mean, that's kind of cold and harsh to admit, but not necessarily wrong. Oh, absolutely. I always advise right now keeping your gas tank as topped off as you can in your car. Definitely don't let it get below a half a tank if you can help it. I mean, we're in the middle of hurricane season, so we're trying to keep all of our gas cans for our generator topped off, obviously. But I try to keep the vehicles gassed up too. Fortunately, all right, Mazer, have a good one. Vaya con Dios. Fortunately, where I would be going, I don't need a whole lot of gas in the truck to get there. Yeah, if you need to keep gas for more than about a year, stable is always a good thing to add to it. I usually end up using it faster than that and just rotating through it, so I don't use it much, but because when I store up gas, what I don't use in the generator during hurricane season, we end up just rotating through the mower and everything else, so it just gets used and the cans get refilled. But yeah, if you're storing it for any kind of long term, then stable's always a good idea. It looks like we made it up to 50 this time. That might be a new record. Sorry we hadn't done a live stream in a while, but I've just been absolutely too busy to do it. Kind of decided to do this at the last minute today just because I was like, you know what, screw it, we got to stop and do this. We ain't done it in a while, and it's easier to do this to answer the question than it is to try to sit down and do a specific video every time somebody asks a question. It's empty. And y'all know what that means. We can't go much longer. What else? I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to cover with you guys before we jump off. I'm sure I'll think of it about midnight tonight when my brain won't shut down when I'm trying to go to sleep. Jonathan, I've got 2 KS-47s, and so far, no extractor issues, no bolt issues, no nothing. They're both running like champs. I haven't put any rounds through them in a couple of weeks, just because, as I said at the start of the video, I am absolutely bingo on training ammo right now, and I won't dip into my rainy day ammo. So can't give you any further updates on that yet. But so far, no problems. So just to ping on what Derek's saying, I don't necessarily subscribe to the Mad Max idea in the context of literally like what you see in the Mad Max movies, right? I don't see us going to that level of absolute falling. I see things going in an absolute worst case scenario back to more like the pioneer days, right? That's kind of what I see. Backsliding all the way to like what's in the Mad Max movies, and again, just using that example, I don't think will happen. I think pioneer type days, frontier days would be far more applicable. But yeah, freedom will be lost in the name of civility. People will get scared and will just want an end to everything, and will be willing to just roll over on their back and give up everything for the violence and stuff to stop. Checkpoints, not sure what you mean about checkpoints. If things get really bad, you got to go back to, like I've said before, guys, martial law, nationwide martial law is an impossibility. There is not enough military and law enforcement to enact martial law in the continental United States. Can't happen. They may want it to happen, but it can't happen. There physically aren't enough people to make it happen. Yes, I talk with Matt Bracken pretty much every week, sometimes daily. Person, oh, make no mistake, that's exactly what they're trying to do. The liberal Democrats, they are using this absolutely, everything to do with this. COVID, the riots, the election, everything. They're using it to try to roll back as much freedom and restrict freedom as much as they possibly can. Because everything about freedom is completely in the way of everything they want to do. Okay? Completely in the way. Quasar, 3 prisons in Oregon under riots at the moment. Really? That's interesting. Might have to look that up real quick. Hang on a second, guys. I want to see what see if I can find anything on that real quick. Check the one you're talking about. Liz, we can talk about that. Let's see. SV News. Chaotic war zone of bloody fighting and pepper spray at Oregon State Penitentiary. No clothing changes in 6 days. Food is scarce. One bathroom shared by 50. Blood is everywhere. Says a source as officials struggle to contain chaos. 3 prisons evacuated and mixed in one. Mixing rival gangs and maximum low security prisoners. Huh. Well, that could get sporty. Yeah, interesting. I have to keep following that. Thanks for the heads up on that. Yeah, that could get real interesting. But as things continue to go downhill, I'm surprised we haven't seen more of that so far. And I don't know if you heard me, Mr. Gas, but yeah, I talk with Matt Bracken regularly. So my question, Mystery, will be who's going to use the drones? Because it ain't going to be the government. Yeah, don't give the government any more credit than they deserve. The government is largely inept in a lot of ways. People like to think that the government's this almighty power, and yeah, not so much. And military drones are hard to hack into. That would take a special kind of hacker, and then he would have to have the skill and ability to operate it after he did it. That would be a fairly slim thing on my part, and it would still be a one and done type deal, not really a widespread threat in my opinion. Wildfire to clear landing space for paratroop. Well, the problem with that theory is, let me shoot a hole in it. A lot of those wildfires, they move through really fast and they burn out all the underbrush, but they leave a lot of the trees. So it doesn't create just an open, barren landscape in a lot of areas for the most part. A lot of the trees will still be there. And I just got an alert fixing to storm really bad outside, so if for some reason I suddenly disappear, it might be because I have lost power. Let's see. Yeah, and that area in in Northern California and Oregon and Washington State and everything, that's a lot of hilly to mountainous terrain. There's not a lot of super open flat areas, so not exactly the best place to try and land paratroops. And then again, they'd still have to get here without somebody knowing that they were on the way. And honestly, if you really wanted to galvanize people, an outside force would be the quickest way to doing it. I mean, think what police officers face when they go to a domestic issue, right? Families be at a house just tearing each other up. As soon as the police show up, all of a sudden everybody just turns on the police. And that's it. Same here. If you wanted to galvanize people, an external threat coming in would be a way to do it. Which is why I go back to say somebody like China, they could let us do the work for them. All they got to do is flip the switch on the power, take the grid down and cause chaos that way. They never have to fire a shot. They never have to spend a dime of personnel, equipment, or supplies or resources to do anything. We do it all for them. We do it every bit for them. All right, guys. It's been a little over an hour now, and I'm sure y'all are probably tired of listening to me. So, unless you've got something specific that you want to go on about, I think we'll wrap it up. Give it just another minute or two. So if y'all got anything else on your mind, pop it in the chat now. See if anything comes up. All right, well, I don't see anything popping up, so I'm going to call it on that. Let you guys run. I'm going to go see what I need to get done before the storm gets here that I just got the alert about. And I appreciate it, Quasar. I'm trying to get them out as fast as I can, man. I am up to my neck. Yes, F-18. Do not discount CB radio. You can't talk around the world with it, but you can still make it useful. All right, guys, y'all take care. We're gonna shut it down. Keep doing what you're doing, and like my grandfather always said, prepare for the worst and pray for the best. All right, I don't see anything else. I will see you guys later. Y'all have a good one.